I understood that people here in America that wanted to practice African spirituality needed a different path than people in Ghana. The people here were dealing with a different time. Like if you think about the 1960s, and you think about the 1970s and 80s, the people were dealing with a different kind of energy here in America. So Nana Yao, he poured libation for me, and he said, Adade Kofi's telling me that you're going to be a great Akonfa one day. And I had doubt in my mind because in Akom, a big part of Akom and a part of the meaning of Akom is to possess the spirit. And so I didn't think I could ever possess the spirit. At 4 a.m., I have to go into the grove, bath me, and the spirit would come on me.
Wow.
And the spirit was so powerful, and I never felt anything like that in my life.
Wow.
And that was one moment that I couldn't deny.
Thank you, Nana Osei. It's good to see you today. I appreciate you inviting me down to your office and allowing me to come and speak with you today. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to, speak about the Akom culture and the Akom and to really spread the message and allow people to have a different perspective from someone who's actually living and breathing in this tradition. So, like I said, thank you. I appreciate it, and I'm excited to hear your message.
Absolutely.
Okay, Nana. So the first question that I have for you is for those who may not know you, could you please introduce yourself and share your role within the Akom spiritual tradition?
Sure. My name is Nana Kofi Osei, Bosu Ababio, and I was born into this tradition. I think we would call us first generation in this tradition. I have older brothers and sisters that grew up in the culture, but we were all born into this. And we came out of a well structured and very intentional Akan shrine house community, African community under the leadership of Nana Yao Parry Denny Zulu the first. And my mother from college started to come to our homes. She was going to the University of Albany, and her and some of her friends would come down to New York to go to our homes. And she felt like that was her path. And so all of my brothers and sisters, my mother has 6 children, my father has 12. So all of my brothers and sisters, we all grew up in this tradition. One of the beauties about growing up in this tradition is Nana Denny Zulu was very intentional. And I understood how intentional he was when I started to travel to Ghana and when I trained, because I trained in Ghana, I didn't train in America. And later on, I can explain a little bit about that, why it is a difference, but why this difference helped me to understand America and African spirituality in America more.
Yeah, and I can definitely, understand and see that there's a huge difference between being introduced into the culture at a later point in your life
Yeah.
than from growing up in it. It's something that is ingrained from you from a child, and it allows you to fully develop in these different spiritual practices. So that's really powerful that your mother and your father were able to give you that experience growing up.
Yeah, and it was a real beautiful experience. One of the things before we keep going, one of the things that was very, very important is that I understood that people here in America that wanted to practice African spirituality needed a different path than people in Ghana. So I hear people say sometimes like, or we do this in Ghana or Nigeria. But those places are very big and very vast.
Yeah.
So if you say that people only do Akom one way in Ghana, that's not the truth. And so when I started to study and I was understanding, I was like, what people do in latte is not even what people do right next door,
Yeah.
right? So it's a difference. But who Nana Dini Zulu connected with and how they connected was such, you know, we say we believe in God, but then sometimes we don't see the effect.
Mm-hmm.
Nana Parabia, who Nana Dini Zulu connected with in Latte, she created like a university.
Wow.
So all of the people that trained with her, they all learned something that was systematic, right? And codified. When Nana Dini Zulu brought it here, the people here were dealing with a different time. Like if you think about the 1960s, and you think about the 1970s and 80s, the people were dealing with a different kind of energy here in America.
Yeah.
And what Nana Dini Zulu needed to do for the people to be able to understand why this was so important to us, why we needed to do certain things. He couldn't do it exactly how it was done in Ghana.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things when I trained that it started to like hit me like, oh my God, the way we grew up in this was so intentional and it was so good and it worked out. And you know, the work we're doing now within our Akom community is amazing. You know, when I look at my brothers and sisters and all of the people that are still doing this work, it's uplifting because now it's a lot of other people that, like you said, came on to this older. Like my mother, she came into this, they're in college, but her kids were born into it.
Yeah.
You understand? So it's a huge difference.
Yeah, and I feel like that's really important. Like you said, the way that he was able to tailor this for the people here in America, you know, because getting the same as if it was somewhere else, you know, we always want to keep to the authenticness of the culture and everything.
Yeah.
But whenever you're dealing with a certain group of people, you have to meet them where they are. You know, we grow up with a whole different mindset here in America versus in the motherland. So it was beautiful that he was able to tailor it to the people here in order for everybody to grasp it in a way where their understanding will be able to, you know, it will be able to merge together beautifully.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the next question that I wanted to ask you, at what point did you realize this calling was something you could not ignore? I know you grew up in the culture, but you know, growing up in your adolescence and your teenage years, was there ever any point where you felt, you know, maybe that this was not something that I'm so interested in? You know, my mother, she, you know, kind of brought me into this. I want to explore something on my own.
Absolutely. I went to Ghana with my brother Kwesi, and he was going into training at this time. He was going to what we call going into Akom to be Akom for. And while we was there, we wanted to learn because I'm a professional drummer. That's what I do by trade.
Okay.
I don't drum that much anymore. You know, I'm the executive director of Asasaya. So that's, you know, like you see me just now sitting behind the computer, right? But drumming is what we do. So we went to who became my teacher, Nana Yao Yorenchi's house in a village called Enyame Bechere. And we went to go learn drumming. And while we was there to learn drumming, he said to me and Quasi, like, I think y'all should take spiritual baths. So we was like, okay, cool, nope, we'll do it. Because we was already familiar with this.
Yeah, you're not opposed to it. It's not something that's unfamiliar to you.
So we were already familiar. So Nana Yao, he poured libation for me. And he said, Nana Kofi's telling me that you're going to be a great Akofa one day.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, he doesn't understand me.
Yeah.
Right? For lack of better words. He doesn't understand me. He doesn't understand that I'm a musician. I just was in one of the top music schools or performing arts schools in New York, professional performing arts school. I'm going to tour the world. People, right? He just doesn't understand.
Yeah, you had different plans for your life.
So no problem. I left, and we went from Ghana to Guinea. Great trip in Guinea. I turned 21 in Guinea. I'm talking about we had an amazing time. They threw a big party for me. Everything.
Yeah.
Guinea is an amazing place, And we left. We came back to America after Guinea, and these things just kept happening. All of these different things just kept happening. And so my uncles, who also who have a shrine house, Abu Sumawame Shrine House, they asked me to come help them do some work. And, I wasn't doing the actual work. I was there to help them and assist them with the preparation of what they needed to do. And one of my uncles, he said, Nana Dade is giving me a message that you're going to be an Okofa.
Mm.
And I was like, this is the second time I'm hearing this nonsense. Like, I don't, they just don't understand. Like, I didn't really want to commit to that. I was a drummer. I was hoping that they would say, you could drum more. You could do all of these, things drumming.
Yeah.
Not something where I had to commit to be Okofa. And I had doubt in my mind because in Akom, a big part of Akom and a part of the meaning of Akom is to possess the spirit. And so I didn't think I could ever possess the spirit.
Yeah.
So, I was like, maybe I need to step away a little bit. My mentor in drumming and just in life, Nana Kamadi Dini Zulu, he's also was all Konfo. Very, well knowledgeable Konfo. We were about to I went to Dance Africa.
Yeah.
And I went to his house to help him to move some drums. And he was telling me that the Omotias, who the dwarfs, were telling him that my spirit was strong and Nana Kofi was going to take me. So that was the third time.
Yeah.
So I sat down and I had a talk with my mother. And she was like, so what do you want to do? I was like, maybe I'll try it. She was like, where? Who do you want to go to your uncles? Do you want to go with Nana Kamadi? Like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
I was like, well, the first person that told me was Nana Yao Yarenchi. That was the first person that told me. So let's talk to him and let's see.
Yeah.
We talked to him. He was like, yes, Nana Dade. He said he's going to do it. So I think we should do it. I said, what do I need to do? He said, you need to come to Ghana. Mm-hmm. I went to Ghana and I didn't think I was going to do it right then and there.
Yeah.
But when I went to his house, he was like, yeah, now's the time. He goes, the list. It was a, small list. He was like, but you're going to train, as I knew already, over the 3 years.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. It was just anxiety building up in me because I was like, what am I doing with my life? I'm a musician.
Yeah.
I'm going to train for 3 years. I already know about training. So I understand that when you train, you have all kinds of rules, restrictions, you have different things that you have to do. And I didn't want to train and not
fulfill it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? Let's do it. I go into, we set the date while I'm in Ghana. I go to see my brother Kwesi because he's going to graduate now. Mm-hmm. So from that first trip to this trip, wow, right, he's going to graduate. So now I'm like, all right, Kwesi's graduating. My other brother, my uncle, just went into training. I'm gonna do it. We set the date, we do it. First day, I get sick.
Oh wow.
I get sick. My mother has an argument with somebody on the compound and leaves. So I'm at this compound in the middle of the village, sick, right? We, my teacher, he's a very, very, very good person. Like he's a very thoughtful person. He is like he's gonna give his all. So he was a little nervous. I was scared because there's no lights in the village.
Yeah.
There's no running water in the village. There's no like all of the things that we think about. None of those things were there. I'm 23 years old now. It's all of this stuff. Like it's nothing there. I'm sick. I'm talking about throwing up, everything, right? But every morning at 4 a.m., I have to go into the grove, bath me, and the spirit would come on me.
Wow.
And the spirit was so powerful. That's why I got so sick. The spirit Nana Kofi was so powerful every day, every morning for 7 days.
Yeah.
I was so bad. I couldn't eat anything. The only thing I ate was pineapple and ginger. That was it for maybe 3 weeks. But for those 7 days, every morning I had to bath and the spirit would come on me. And I never felt anything like that in my life.
Wow.
And that was one moment that I couldn't deny that I was doing, like my life was shifting.
Wow.
I was nervous. Like I said, the anxiety was still there because I was sick. I was in the village for a few days by myself without any, like most of the people there did not talk English.
Yeah.
You know, so it was a moment for me.
Yeah.
But it's also a moment where you knew and you understood this is the real deal.
Yeah.
Not saying anything else spiritually is fake, but I'm just talking about the way my body felt. I was in the right place at the right time, but I needed to release some things that could not travel with me.
Yeah, it sounded like you were purging your system, not only physically, but spiritually from a lot of things that maybe you had been dealing with and not even fully aware of. But it sounds like, not necessarily that you were running, but you just weren't in the position in your life that you were necessarily prepared to take on this role in this, big undertaking. But the spirit, when they want you, you gotta step in line and really kind of move when they tell you to move in order to see the greatness of your destiny be fulfilled. So that's really incredible. I'm glad, it's an awesome story and I appreciate you sharing that with me. One question that I wanted to ask you, can you explain the Akan understanding of the universe and the relationship between the physical and the spiritual world?
Yeah. So just to be very clear, that's a extremely broad, right, ask. And I'm gonna tell you why. The Akan people are extremely diverse. You have a lot of different theology when it comes to the Akans. Some Akans will say that the earth was created on Thursdays. Others will say Friday. Some would say that you cannot have a literal word for God. Others will say that you could say this or you could say that. Like I'm not going to say the words because I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I'm saying.
Yes.
Right? But it's broad and it's vast. The Akan people are most of central and southern Ghana.
Okay.
Right? So you have so many different groups of people with so many different beginnings and stories on how they have survived. To make this even a little bit more confusing, right? The the people that Nana Zulu went to and got shrines, and we did most of our studies with those shrines, and the head shrine, who is Nana Kofi Osei, is not Akan.
Oh.
She's from Latte. And Latte, they are a different group of people. They're the Guans or Chedirampon or Okre, some of them, but they're the Latte people. They talk a different language. They have a different thought process. A lot of the stuff that they do is completely different. But what made Nana Zulu's experience different, and I'm gonna answer your question too, but I just wanted to, right? But what made his experience different is Nana Kofi Osei Parabia was a Khan.
Mm.
You understand?
Yeah.
So she was sitting on the stool as the Akomfo Hini, as the chief priest in Latte, right? Because when her predecessor, Akomfo Amansa, or we say Akomfo Amansa, when she was in possession, and when she was leaving possession, she gave the Miditi and the Akofana to Nana Parabia, not to the Abrafo, and she passed away.
Wow.
And so that was a sign to everybody that Nana Parabia was supposed to sit on that stool. We have other signs on how the chief priest for Nana Kofi Osei is supposed to come, and that's something that's a little bit more secret that we can't reveal on this. But that happened. That's not legend. There was a bunch of people there. They saw it. It happened, right? So they then passed it to her. Nana Parabia was a Densuyao Okonfo. Densuyao is another river spirit, very powerful. Yao Bediako, Bedama Yao, like he's very strong spirit. And that's who Nana Parabia, that's who she trained to and who she possessed.
Oh, okay.
Right? But when Nana Kofi came to give her the Akofana and the Miditi, they said that's the sign for her to take it. So when Nana Zulu and other people came to Ghana and they talked with Nana Parabia and learned from her, she was a Khan, so she talked tree. She did, right? She did the things that Akan people did, right?
Yeah.
She wasn't a Latarian, but she was the chief priest in Latte.
Oh, okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I'm saying all of this because the shrines that we brought to America were from Latte.
Yes.
So it's a mix of how some of the thought process, some of the teaching, some of all of these things were done. Now, this higgled another level and another step. When I went to train, the thing that I appreciated the most, not the most, let me not say that. What I appreciated a lot is Nana Yaya Renchi talked very good English. It still does.
So it's easy for you to catch on.
Yes. And a lot of times, the Okonfos don't want to tell the people that are not Okonfos I wouldn't call them secrets, but I would call them the rituals.
Yes.
You understand? Because you're not initiated in this. You shouldn't know all of the rituals.
Yeah.
Now, you have helpers. You have Obrafos, you have Densunis, you have Ochamis. You have a lot of helpers that help and understand a lot of the shrine world. But you can't just give somebody all of the tools and the information that they're not an Okonfo.
Yeah.
Right? I cannot say this is just everywhere all across the board. This is where I learned. This is coming from Kubiase Latte to where Nana Yao in Yami Betchade to where I am here in Brooklyn, right? That is the hierarchy and the lineage, right? So the way we look at spirit is every spirit has some time here on this earth. Every spirit.
Yeah.
So even like my spirit, Nana Kofi, right? They say he's a war spirit. And a lot of people look at war spirits and think about actual wars. But he's not a war spirit just with like fighting guns and knives. No. He's also fighting off witches.
Mm-hmm.
He's fighting off bad wizards. He's fighting off, right? So the story is that in a war that was happening, some people were captured. When they were captured, the people said they have this strong shrine. We want to bring this shrine to Latte. They brought the shrine to Latte and they put him in a place and like his own little house. They call that house Asante. Mm-hmm. And that house, it means that's where the Asante people was. But when you do the research of Nana Adade, he's not from Latte, right?
Yeah.
He's from Fanti, from a place called Derampon, right? His favorite Derampon sa. His favorite instrument is Derampon Kofi, which is the bell.
Okay.
Right? And all of these things make a difference on how you connect with spirituality because it's always going to be a lineage, right? So they say that he was in Fanti land as a spirit, as a ghost, they would say. He wasn't a river, he wasn't a stone, he was a ghost.
Yeah.
But that ghost was a warrior spirit.
Yeah.
Right? So that warrior spirit went from Fanti land when the Ashantis overran the Fantis to the Ashanti land to now in Latte. But some people and some people will say, well, they have a Dadi Kofi in different places. For the Dadi Kofi that's in Latte, it's only one. Mm. They have a Dadi Kofi, a Dadi Kwesi. They have different ones in different places.
Yeah.
Right? But that one that's in Latte is one. Right? And so that one that's there, where he came there, Nana Penin was there. She's the mother, Nana Kofi Osei. She is the head shrine. So now Nana Adade is under her. So she gives him a position. You're the head of brothel. Mm-hmm. Right? You're the head of brothel. So now we're looking at the spirits having hierarchy and having order and having ways and means how they're working.
Yes.
Together. You understand?
Yes.
And then
structure.
Yes. It's creating structure. So it's not a bohemian thing like we just do whatever, right? And so this is like this in general because like we have ceremonies. Tomorrow is Akwe Sedai. Akwe Sedai is a ceremony where we honor our ancestors. We honor if you have people that are in the chief house, you honor the previous chiefs. Mm. You feed them, you give them, you do rituals for them. And for us, we purify our shrine houses, we purify all of the people, we do all of that, right? So you have different kinds of structure and order on how we deal with the Bosun, how we deal with the people, and how we move forward. Yeah. Right? The difference between, because we have other holy days, like you have the Wukuada. For Konfo, a big thing for the Wukuada is calling the spirits home. Because we send the spirits out to work. We don't send them, we ask them to work. Yeah. So the Wukuada is we call them home. The Fofie, we feed them. Right? We feed the spirits. The Akwe Sedai, we purify and we ask them to continue their work. right? And it's all structured, but it's all in order. And our ancestors, they understood that you had to do things in certain orders because we have a period of time where you can't make any noise.
Mm.
You can't phone. The earth has to be silent. And then after that, we have our big, festival, renewal, all of that. But the earth has to be silent at a time. And so our ancestors, they understood certain things because when they came to Ghana, Akan means first and pure. What are we talking about, first and pure? We're talking about the first people in the pure land. So where they are now, they were the first people to be there in that pure land that they still inhabit, right? But when you get there, you're the first people. What about the spirits that were there? The rivers, the Bosum, and we have so many different stories of different interactions.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like every African spirituality that I've heard of has stories of the beginnings of the interactions.
Yeah.
Right? So it's, people are coming and saying, we're gonna lay our flag here. And you come there and a spirit comes and says, well, this is my area. Y'all can stay here, but y'all need to do this.
Yeah.
Our ancestors start to do it, and this is how it becomes a tradition.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's really powerful. And then even hearing you speak about how your lineage is kind of set up, how, from Latte, from different parts of Ghana, and it kind of makes a lot of sense that that type of lineage would be brought here to America because think about the transatlantic slave trade. We weren't all just from one place. We weren't all just one people, but we were all brought from different lands, different nations to come to various parts throughout the diaspora. But when you're speaking about that, it's in my mind, I'm thinking about that as well. It's like, that's powerful because, they were taking a little bit from each section and culminating it into one, congruent practice. But whenever it was brought here, it makes sense because it's like, we are, like I said, we're people from everywhere in the motherland. So for that practice to come here specifically, it's really powerful.
Yeah, definitely. One of the very important things to know about Nana Kofi Osei is that they said that she could pull Okonfos from anywhere. A lot of Okonfos that were in Ghana training, they would just be from that town, right? But Nana Kofi Osei will pull people from all over, and they would train to the different spirits in Latte.
Yeah.
Right? And one of the beauties about that is that when Nana Parabia said she was sending shrines to America, people said they would never come. They would never cross the water. It was a taboo. It was this. It was all of these things. That was, man, I want to say like 60 years ago.
Wow.
1965 to now, what's that, 60 years or so?
Yeah, about 60, almost 70 years.
Almost 70 years?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, this is such a long time ago that this is happening. And the people thought in their mind it couldn't happen. But they didn't understand the power of spirit because they were limited as well.
Yeah.
Like we talk about our people here and there, but it's limitations on what you know. You mostly know what you see.
Exactly.
Right? And what you don't see, you don't believe it can happen. So when people started bringing the shrines here, and Nana Zulu did a great job. I will say that all of the people that I trained knows that is part of our lineage, our hierarchy. That's who trained my mother.
Yeah.
Right? So with a lot of people would come back and be like, well, they don't do this in Ghana or they don't do that. That's okay. But it's a lot of things that we do. You know what they don't do in Ghana? Have to put on snow boots and and jackets and have to fight against police brutality and have to, go against ICE and all of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Where we have to do it a little different. So if it's something like, I tell my Akom folks, it's a taboo to smoke marijuana in my shrine.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a taboo. Like, it's not, the spirit didn't say that's a taboo.
Yeah.
But when we're doing certain things, that's a taboo. It's a taboo to be intoxicated in public. Right? What you do in your house, we're not gonna know.
Yeah.
But if you're out in public and you're a Konfo, you're representing more than yourself.
Yes.
Right? So these things for me makes a difference.
Yeah.
A big difference. And a lot of people say, well, they don't do this in Ghana or they don't do this. That's okay. That's okay. That doesn't mean that everything that we do here has to, because we don't need the shrines the same way.
Yeah.
Right? When I talk to people, they're telling me they're paying $5,000 rent. Right? That means the shrines got to work a little different here.
Yeah.
Right? They have to work a little bit different.
Exactly.
When people come in for protection medicine, that protection medicine that they're using it for in Ghana is different than what we're using it for here. So we need our bosom to adjust.
Yeah.
Adjust. And this is some, I've been through like little small debates and stuff with people because they're like, well, this is authentic and this is not authentic. I will debate anybody in it because I understand the medicines, I understand the ceremonies, I understand the songs and the music, I understand how we make Black medicine, like so much of a talisman. I understand so many parts of it. But what I understand more than anything is my people I grew up with on Gates Avenue in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I understand that. And I understand when I need to have a conversation with them, if I'm talking in tree, they're not going to understand me.
Yeah.
If I'm telling them only the way how things are done in Ghana, they're not going to understand me. And in that way, they're not going to be held.
Yeah.
So when I say Nana Denny Zulu did his big thing,
he did it.
He did it. When my mother started her own shrine house, she did her big thing. She did it. Right? So when I pour libation, I'm always going to call Nana Denny Zulu. I'm always going to ask for Nana Kodia, my mother, to be blessed and to continue to do her work. For Nana Owusu, Nana Isi, Nana Adjo. These are my elders that said, man, if you think about the 60s and the 70s, the 80s, I grew up in the 80s, the way African culture was looked upon, no.
Yeah. Yeah, so, when you're saying this, it's about meeting people where they are, and not to turn them away because someone could truly, honestly need help. But if they feel they're not able to step up to a certain level, they might feel like they're a lost cause.
Yeah.
But you are talking about meeting people where they are. And that's the same thing how the spirits are. They're meeting you where you're at in order to help you level up, in order to help you ascend to that next level. But if you can't start at a small place, if you can't meet someone when they're low, how do you expect them to reach the full potential?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's incredible. Can you answer this question for me? Who is Nanyame, and how does Nanyame relate to the Abosun and to the ancestors?
Yeah. So I talked about it a little bit. So this is not to correct you, but just we say nyame,
Yeah.
right? And Inyame, they say, is the sky god. When I was young, they used to tell us this story about Inyame. They said that Inyame used to be closer to the earth. And the woman pounding fufu kept hitting him.
Mm.
And that's why he went to the sky. You know, it's just a story. It's a story that I remember as a child. But Inyame would be a, for lack of better words and understanding, word for God.
Okay.
So we have Chedompon, Kwame, Odumakama. We have, you know, it's a lot of different appellations for God. But what I've learned is that they said that when God was creating the earth, he was also creating the Bosun. Some he was creating in rivers, some of he was creating in stones, some he was creating in caves. Like he was creating the Bosun. And what the Bosun's job was to help the people that were coming next.
Yeah.
That was their ultimate job, to help the people, because they understood the way the earth was created.
Mm.
And the earth spirit is the Sasaya. That's the highest spirit on the earth. That's the mother, that's the womb, that's the birth, that's right. It's a Sasaya. And all of the Abosun, all of the every creature on this earth is a child or is a, you know, comes through a Sasaya.
Mm.
So Inyame, or however, you know, you would call it in the appellations, it's not a word big enough to say God. You won't find a word big enough for God in Akom. If you do, please let me know, right?
Yeah.
Because I will really want to understand how they got to this, and you know what is the breakdown on how, you know, what they say is not a word big enough.
Understood.
Right? So the connection is every Akofa, when we first pour libation, the first time we raise up, and they say libation is something that's very, very important, right? Because what we're trying to do with libation is break the surface of the earth and go in deep with our ancestors, with the Bosun and with Sasaya. They say once you pour drink to the ground, you could never get it back, right? So when you go to pour a libation, they say born pie, and that libation that we're pouring is to a Sasaya, like traditionally it's to a Sasaya. Other, you know, upon folk, we have different elements that we use for our shrines and stuff. But when we just pour libation, it's to a Sasaya, to the earth, right? And then through that, we are breaking through to call the spirits to rise up, right? We don't have in Akan tradition, an Akom tradition, and Litarian tradition, we don't have a word for hell.
Yeah.
We don't have a word for the devil. We don't, like, these things, they do not exist.
Yeah, those are concepts that are not in our cultural understanding. Yeah.
So now, when you start to talk about it, and again, when you generalize and you say Akan, that's a people. So you have a lot of Akan people that are Christian. So they might say, well, we do. But I'm talking about traditionalists that are dealing with Akom.
Yes.
It's zero amount. And people there bring up all kinds of different things, but they have to do a little bit more research first if they mention something like Sasa Bon Sound or, you know, just different things like that. In their, you know, Isheshe tradition, if they try to say Eshu, like, it's not.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? It's not at all. So the way it is that we give all praise to the creator first, because there's nothing without the creator. Now, after we give praise to the Creator, we have to give praise to Asasiyah. And then after Asasiyah, because Asasiyah is this world we're in. But we, as Akom practitioners, as Akom folk, we believe and we know that it's another world that exists. We call it Ehum Ne'aham. And this is the world that the Bosun live in. Ehum Ne'aham. So it's the levels of it, but we can't touch and reach directly to the Creator. And also, our ancestors have their own land. It's called Insamando, right? They have their own land. So the ancestors in the Bosun don't live in the same spiritual world. And that's our belief. So the connection to the Almighty Creator is we know He, she created everything, and we give praise to it. But we know that that's untouchable.
Yeah.
That's not something that you can just reach to. We don't, like some people, and I'm not trying to badmouth any tradition, but some people say, I talk to God. And in our home, we don't believe that is possible.
Yeah. They are so far removed necessarily from what we deal with on a daily basis that they send the different spirits to help and assist us as we walk on this earth.
And then on the next level, we also feel like we are creators. You understand? So we're not the creator. Like, I don't want to get that twisted. But we also create. We can make babies. We can build. We can call on the spirits, right?
Yeah.
So everybody has that energy and that power in us. And we are a piece of the creation and the creator.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you for, breaking that down for me and for many other people, so many people, if you're not walking in a specific tradition, but maybe you know a little bit about it, it's kind of hard to grasp the full understanding of it. Yeah. So I appreciate you for explaining that to me and to everybody else in a deeper way for us to fully understand.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we were talking about ancestors for a moment. Can you explain to me what role do the ancestors play in the daily life and decision making in the Akom spiritual tradition?
There is no spirit closer to any human than their ancestors. Period. Like that's not debatable. That's not right. Like my father is now my ancestor. The spirit I trained to cannot be closer to me than my father. Right? So our ancestors are always a major part and focus with us. Now we have deified ancestors. Nanesi Ketwa is a big ancestor that has been deified, that walks with us, that works with us. But we have our family ancestors that's extremely important to us. I don't know if everybody does this, but in my house, we don't eat a meal without our ancestors eating with us. Mm-hmm. You understand?
Yeah.
Like some people might tease like us, like y'all always got this plate of food here, right? But it's important. My wife's mother passed. So many of the people that I've trained, one of their parents or close friends or, have passed. And that is something that we hold dear to us. So we have the mother side of the ancestors and the father side of the ancestors. We don't say that they're just together, right? Because your mother's side might have did one thing, father's side might have did another. But a big part of it is understanding the core, understanding the purpose, understanding how to deal with it. Right.
Yeah.
Our ancestors, we know they could work for us. My very first Sankofa that I trained and graduated passed away some years ago. Her anniversary was just a couple of weeks ago of her passing. And I call her spirit in every time I pour libation. I will never, ever pour libation and I don't call her spirit. Right? Because I know this person dearly. Right? You're never going to hear me pour libation and I don't call a Kunfo Abena or Noon or surgery. Right? Yes, I trained her, but she also was my friend. And what I know is that at the time that she transitioned into the world of the ancestors, that she also understood her assignment, that she was going to come and bless us all and work with us. Like I said, this was my very first Akonfo I trained. And really, so when we train people, like when you start to train people, you have to give 3 people to your teacher first. But you have to train them. Your teacher has to know that you trained them well. Then you can start to train people. She was the first one in that 3. So she's really Nana Yao's Okonfo, but I'm the one that trained her.
Wow.
Yeah. So I know calling her name, I know calling her energy that she's ready to work. And she's right here.
Yeah.
Even me just saying her name now, like I feel her spirit. And I don't know crazy, because sometimes people be like, oh, how can you tell? And then, right? But then at the same time, they could do every ritual that they do to call on other ancestors that's not family, that's not close, that's not, you know what I mean? And have days for them and have all of these things. But we can't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, people, they, like you spoke about earlier, not to put anybody else's tradition or anything down, but people, they tend to quickly demonize the practices of the African continent and try to label them in such a way that discredits them, because it's like, oh, you're doing this, you're not supposed to work with those spirits because those people have passed. And it's like, from my own experience, I can attest to, working with my ancestors and having them play a major role in my spiritual development and in blessing and protecting me. A lot of my ancestors come to me often as a person who is initiated into Egundele. I deal with a lot of spirits that have passed on. Yeah. So, I have a full understanding of how important it is to work with our ancestors and to help lift and raise that vibration in order to, like you said, you come from them, they come from you. So they're going to work for you. They're going to want to see you better in life than maybe how they left it. So it's like, it's really powerful to hear you speak about that.
An important, very important thing about our ancestors in the Bosuni, they don't live in the same world. So like even in our shrines, we don't bring ancestral shrines into the room with the Bosuni. Right? Even Nanesi Ketua, she has a pot, right? But she also has a grove. So all of us that went into training, we go into training in her grove. That's the grove of where the ancestors come. That's the grove of where the Bosum also do their work. But that's her ancestral grove. So she's outside while they are in their space. And that's important to know, because sometimes people might try to put it together.
Yeah.
Because she's a deified ancestor. Well, we call her twice in our libation. We call her with the Bosu because they deified her, but then we call her again with the ancestors because she was here. And she's very important to our Pathian.
Yeah, that's that's really amazing. It's incredible, and it's like I said, it's important to have the understanding of honoring. A lot of people they'll be, oh, you're worshiping. We don't worship our ancestors. We honor them and we uplift them and help to, like I said, raise their vibration so they can do the same for us.
So, and the question I ever always have is the person that you put as a saint, all right? You make this person, this human, into a saint. That's honoring,
Yes.
or worshiping, or you could be a little, right?
Yeah.
But they wasn't born as Saint Thomas or Saint, right?
Exactly.
They wasn't born in that way. So it's okay for us to do that. It's okay for us to say that. It's okay for me to say my father was great.
Yeah.
And when I pour libation, I'm going to say his name.
You're going to acknowledge his spirit, acknowledge the great things that he did.
Yeah. Because he did a lot, like he was a community person. So he did a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just like he's just doing this for his kids, or he's just doing this for his brothers and sisters. We have a very large family. He did a lot for the community. And I'm going to honor that.
Yeah.
And you're not going to trick me out of believing that I shouldn't honor my ancestors.
Exactly.
Because again, they are always going to be the closest people to us.
Yeah. What responsibility does a priest carry within the Akom tradition, both spiritually and communally?
This is an awesome question. Because in the old days, from what I was taught, there was only one Akomfa per town. That doesn't mean that every town had an Akomfa, but if a town had an Akomfa, it was only one. And most of the towns, the Akomfa was for the spirit that was from that town. Right? Like when they came, like I talked earlier, when they came to the town, that spirit that was there, the Akomfa was there to do and honor and work with that spirit. And the people in the town will come to the Akomfa to get advice, to get blessings, to get all of those kinds of things that we need that are a little bit extra.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like you could say, I don't want to work, but I want money.
Yeah.
You understand? Like, so it's those kinds of things. But what is very, very, very important for our comfort, because you have this connection with these spirits, you cannot just do whatever you want. This is why we train for 3 years.
Yeah.
Because you have to be like, they have to know you have this discipline. They have to know that you're not evil. They have to know that you're not just a messed up person. You have the strength to feel for people, but you also have the strength to tell somebody when they're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
That is the traditional sense. Now, when you come into the new world, we have tons of Okonfos and just African precinct. A major part of it, and this is my theory, is that a lot of people needed to have a role. They needed to have a community of people where it was like, okay, we're all priests, we can all do this with it. But I'm gonna take myself as an example. I have a little bit over 20 priests, right? for me to be able to teach them the correct way, I also have to live it.
Yeah. You have to lead by example.
You have to, right? So I see some people so strict and so disciplined. Yes, you have to be strict, but you also have to understand that a lot of people that are coming into this do not have an understanding of this. So a big thing that I make sure that I do is first, I make sure that everybody's hands on. You have to understand the ceremonies. You have to understand the works. You have to put on libation. Your hands on. Second, you have to know that you have to live with a certain kind of quality of life. You can't, like I said, you can't just be smoking marijuana. That's not a terrible thing, but that's not what we want as a representation of somebody that people are coming to get help.
Yeah.
Other traditions you might be able to do, but I'm talking specifically for my shrine.
Yeah.
You cannot be outside and just be so far inebriated.
Yeah.
You cannot fake possession. And that's a whole video on itself.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm not judging anybody. But when I say fake a possession, I'm saying that you're doing something for your own purposes to control other people.
Yeah.
No way. Right? You cannot have a dirty shrine area. Right? Your house shouldn't be dirty, period. But if your shrine is dirty, you can't do it because people are coming into this. They need to understand that we have order.
Yeah.
We have cleanliness. We have all of these different things, right? So you can't do those things, right? But then when somebody comes to you, just because your rent is due doesn't mean that you hurt them financially, right? It doesn't mean that. And I say that intentionally, right? And it's not because I think anybody charges too much or too little. It's because if you're intentionally trying to take a certain amount of money from people or a person for your own use, that's not the work that we do. If we believe in the Bosun, if we believe in our ancestors, if we believe in the Almighty Creator, they will provide for us.
Exactly.
Right? They'll provide for us. So these character steps are important because when people come to me, they're usually coming to me with a situation that they want to get out of. Now, putting them in another level of anxiety is not the work.
Yeah.
That's not to say that the work is free because I travel to Ghana, which costs. I pay for the medicines, which costs. I pay for the labor to make the medicines or to pull up the medicines, or right. I pay for the time, right?
For your training.
For my training, I pay. So it's not free, but it's also shouldn't be that we're doing this just to take.
Yeah. For a financial gain. Someone should not be having to think about, refinancing their home just to be able to afford, spiritual service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And again, I'm not talking about anybody specific. I'm talking about how I train my Akom.
Yes.
And what I know is that they have appreciated the transformation from coming with an issue to now leading themselves spiritually and being able to say, this is where I am spiritually. And that's just the people that committed to be Akomfos. Now I have thousands of people over the years that have come to my shrine that we help.
Yeah.
And some people, they come and they like Nana Osei, I just don't have it. Right? I have a limit on what I can do because I can't buy you a whole bunch of things, right? I have a limit what I could do. But you know what's never a limit? I could always pray for that person. And our prayers are real. I could always tell that person, you know what? If you got a Metro card, come back. Keep coming here. Right? We as you are learning more, you could get some things. Right? Hey, you could get your spirit where it's more calm and relaxed, where you could see better.
Yeah.
When we do our Quisedais and we purify, you could be amongst where you could purify your spirit.
Yes.
You understand? Like it's not always about just the magic. It's never about the magic because it's not magic. But it's not always about just somebody coming and this is just the work.
Yeah.
Right? Now, some people they might say, but you know, I don't say you do charge a lot. Again, I don't. I'm probably for what I'm giving, extremely fair.
Yeah. And you know, it's unfortunate that a lot of people like to think of it, you know, like of course we live in the world, we have bills, people have real life responsibilities. And, you know, I'm not saying someone should be charging you, you know, $10,000 to do some spiritual work or whatever. But at the same time, you know, you get what you pay for when you're working with a reputable person, you're working with someone who has good character and good morals and someone who is truly doing the work for you. You know, when you pay and you see the benefit that you get, you know, no amount of money can really replace that. When you're really going through something in life and you can't find a way out of it, and someone's able to come in and you know, assist you and intercess for you and to be able to help you to get out of the situation, you know, it's priceless. It's really priceless. So
Yeah, like I could give you a great example. And I'm gonna be as vague as possible because I never want the person that came to me to ever feel like they were betrayed by me telling their business.
yeah.
So a lady came to me and she told me her daughter was something off about her daughter. Wasn't eating. She was very snappy. She was like, but this had went on for about 7 months. I told the lady, just give me a few days. She came to me and I said, I to do this work, we're gonna take some time. We have to ask the spirits to go see what's happening, come back, let us know. But then they have to give us the remedy, how to fix this. So the lady was like, but you know, I need this to happen fast. I'm like, no problem. So she goes and immediately the spirit came and told me what was happening. Right? Somebody was being inappropriate with her daughter. So me being a man, I'm kind of nervous to tell a lady what's happening. So I tell my mother. The first thing my mother said, she didn't go to the shrine or anything. She's like, I don't think so. Like, she's a really good mother, and I don't want her to feel like something, like she's not a good mother. I was like, Mom, this is clear, super clear on what happened. My mother said, okay, I'll call her for you. My mother called the lady, told her what was said. The lady bust out tears, right? So now my mother's nervous, like, you know, because she has a heart. She has children. She has, right? She has a heart. So the lady says, she told me about this a few months ago, and I didn't believe her. Right. My mother said, bring her as soon as you can to the shrine. We're going to do the work for her. Because you can't remove that. But what you could do is build the spirit back up.
Yes.
And help. You could assist with it.
Yeah.
Right? So the lady, she brings her daughter, they do the work. whatever. The daughter's doing great now in life, right? But what we charge for that, you could never pay an amount for something like that for your child.
Yeah.
There's never enough money, right? So for when people start talking about the amount of money and this and that, right? I'm also not going to charge that lady something that's going to put her in more stress. Where it's like, well, now I got to take a second job
Yeah.
because I'm going to help my child, but I also still got to pay my bills. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like those two things, like we're talking about being a honorable person.
Yes.
This is honorable, and to this day, you see, like I hear stories about this child thriving. I didn't know the child like that. I knew the lady a little bit, right? But the child, I didn't know at all.
Yeah.
And you see these things happening over and over, and people they want to, like, you have some people that be like, well, this is the work I did, and they brag about it, right? But was it really you?
Yeah.
Would I have known without going and consult the shrine?
Exactly.
No. And I have so many different stories of that same type thing.
Yeah.
Like, but just different ways, different things. And like I said, a lot of these people that they come with these kind of issues,
Yeah.
they then later on is like, okay, I want to stay. I want, I want more. I want, and they get more.
Yeah. That's incredible. And it just goes to show when you dedicate yourself to your training and you dedicate yourself to really working in the community, what you can do,
Yeah.
what you're able to do to help uplift your community and to uplift yourself.
Yeah.
Are there any misconceptions about the Akom priesthood or tradition that you feel that need to be corrected?
That's a kind of difficult because most misconceptions come from lack of knowledge. And so people will see things from afar all the time and just put their own perspective on it and then say, like, this is what I saw. But I heard somebody say, only don't believe anything of what you hear and half of what you see, right? And that stuck with me so strong because I know that a lot of people, when they talk about Akom, they generalize it. But like how I said earlier, what we do from Kubiase Latte, from the trainings of Nana Kofi and how she trained all the her conference, which was one Nana Renchi, and then how I train my conference, is very structured. Like, it's extremely structured. All of my conference could tell you exactly how to train somebody. All of my conference will tell you the same way how I would tell you. The same way how Nana Yao would tell you. Nana Kofi is not here anymore, but all of the people that are still alive that she trained will tell you the same exact way. Now, some people say, well, everything is not across the board. That's clear. But what is across the board is how people have trained and practiced in Latin. That's across the board.
Yeah.
So some of the misconceptions is that we are just our Akom community is just this one big community that everybody does the same thing. And that's just not true.
Yeah.
And also that just because you talk the tree language doesn't mean that you know all of the things about Akom. So sometimes somebody will come and they're all Konfo and they'll come here to America and they say, oh, what you're doing is wrong, right? To somebody. And somebody will take that. But if you didn't train in latte, you can't tell me what I'm doing is wrong because you did not study that. You don't know what they did.
Yeah.
You know what you did. And what you did is correct for you. But in general, it's not. It's not just a general thing. So we don't generalize things. Like one of the things that you might, or people might understand, like when you deal with E5, you have 256 odors, right? That's across the board in E5. Those 256 odors. But depending who you go to, their interpretation of that odor might change.
Yes.
And so for somebody to say, no, this is the only way you can read or you can interpret this odor, it might not be, right? And I don't have enough to talk about any one odor, but I'm just talking about my experience with E5 priests and my experience, right? So again, an E5 priest might say, well, that's not true. This is the meaning of it. This is this. But that's my interpretation. And that's how misconceptions start.
Yes.
Because I don't have enough knowledge to really stand on it and say, this is true, not true, this, right? But and it's the same thing with Akom. Some people they say, oh, I saw a Nana Kofi in our Cooper. But I'd be like, that a Nana Kofi is different than a Nana Kofi and latte.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the understanding of that and have some of the knowledge of it, you just won't understand it.
Yeah, lack of knowledge will definitely lead to, like you said, a lot of misconceptions. A lot of people, if you don't know and if you're not willing to learn or to ask, the right questions and stuff like that, you will have just this broad generalization of how everything works and it's all supposed to be this way, know. So I can definitely understand that. What would you like the future generation to understand about this spirituality, about this tradition?
One of the biggest things is that we have to be unified. Unity is very, very, very important. Because you call on your spirits in one way doesn't mean that you're better or worse than this other spirit or this other person. We need to be unified and we need to think about growth. It's important to think about these things because the Bosum, the Orisha, the Montias, they all came to these lands for a purpose. Some of us might be afraid that the purpose of slavery or, those different kind of things set us back, but it didn't because it's more popular than ever. I was looking at Revolt TV the other day. And I don't even know who this rapper was, but he had on his E-Day, he had on, I was like, wow. This is going a long way because when I was younger, growing up in this, it was, if you wore beads, you was a devil worshiper. If you wore African clothes, you was a devil worshiper, right? Still now, sometimes people try to call different people devil worshippers and, like, the ignorance of it, right? But the unity of the next generation under us is going to bring a powerful message to the world that our ancestors matter, our deities matter. Deity, so that's not a great word to use. I'd rather use Bosum, Orisha, Ifa, Motia,
Yeah.
right? They matter to us. And they are also taking care of our community in a positive way, in an uplifting way, in a prosperous way.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way, When I look at some of my best friends, they're Babalawos, they're Kofos. We all get in a room and we're all comfortable. There's nobody that is, oh, I'm bigger than him or I'm this or that.
Yeah, there's no
We don't-
competition.
We don't do that.
Yeah.
In the next generation, we have to do it more, but we have to know that a generation above us, sometimes that was done, right? Sometimes that was done, but our generation,
Yeah. Nana, I appreciate you so much for inviting me, like I said, to your office and allowing me to sit down with you. You are a wellspring of knowledge, and I feel like definitely we will have to link up in the future and maybe do a part two, and so that way you can continue to educate me and the viewers. Like I said, I can't thank you enough for all of your time and for all of your energy and effort that you put into this. The last thing that I would ask of you is, before we leave, if you could share a quick prayer with the viewers and with myself, and send us out that way.
absolutely. I want to say this prayer in English,
Go for it.
and I want to say it in English because it will be my thought that most of the people that will be watching this will be English speaking people. But first, I pray that our Creator is always acknowledged. I pray that our earth is always kept in a way that we can succeed. I pray that our ancestors are always honored. I pray that all of the spirits, however you call the spirits around you, however you call the Creator, however you call your space, that you walk with strength, you walk with pride, you walk with purpose. I pray that our purpose fulfills more than just our singular self, but it fulfills our community. I pray that everybody that's watching this, plus their families, plus the people that don't get to watch this, to have some of the basic necessities: food, clothing, and shelter. I pray that Black women specifically are protected on this earth and feel protected in a way where they can continue to have children. They feel protected that the world is not going to beat up on their children so they can continue to have children. I pray that Black men could continue to have families, full families, wife or wives, plenty of children, and can have peace in their castle at all times. And I pray for all people of every race and every background to have peace. But I need sometimes, when I look at my mother and my sisters and my brothers and my aunts and my uncles, that those are the people closest to me, that I see these things happening for them. I pray that our tradition could continue forever, and that our schools could continue to teach not just arithmetic, reading, and writing, but culture, family, business, financial topics, all of the different things, journalism, that our people could understand how to be self-sufficient, medicine, law, and everything else that we could possibly think of. I pray that this show could continue, that this has a real strong purpose. And with purpose, we get to our ancestors. And our ancestors give us the answers. So I pray that you keep going. I would love, when I finish my book, to come back on and we have another discussion.
Definitely. I can't wait to, come back and meet with you again. And like I said, it's inspiring to hear you talk and to see how passionate you are about this tradition, about our ancestors, about preserving, what was passed down to you and allowing it to survive for the next generation. So I thank you again, Nana. I couldn't, words can't really explain how thankful I am for you allowing me to come and speak with you. And I can't wait to, do it again in the future.
Absolutely.
Ashe, thank you.
You're welcome.